Hey all you witches and ghouls, and welcome back to 30 Wishing and Thriving. Today we'll be in our local park recording today's episode. So there may be some background noises, people walking the trails, things like that. So just keep that in mind when watching this episode. And I thought it'd be fun to come here because I do come to this park quite often, and we'll do meditation. Sometimes I'll do personal tarot card readings for myself, or just find this as a way to come and just enjoy nature, even just in the regular mundane. This is the park that my husband proposed to me at. This is also the same park that had led me on to a pagan witch Wiccan journey. Kind of a little bit of backstory. So things were happening in life that weren't all that great. I think that's kind of where all of us get into this particular mindset, unless you're born into it. And I had tried all your traditional like self-helps, Googling, church, the Bible, all of that, and it just didn't work for me. And so one day I was here and I sat down above the water and kind of closed my eyes, put my face up, let the sun beat on me, and was like, hey, I don't know who's listening, I don't care who's listening, but I need a sign and I need an answer to this problem that I'm having. Well, I got my answer and have been on this path ever since. And from that time, I just kind of continued to dive deeper into my spirituality, and here we are today. Stay tuned on my Instagram. I will post a little video and some pictures of the area that I'm talking about, just so that way you guys can get an idea. And yeah, so I thought that it'd be fun to not only just have today's episode here, but I brought a special friend with me. So this box here is my altar right now. And so your lid lifts up and all my belongings are in there. So this is the box that I originally had first started off with about 2 years ago. And it had one notebook, one book, and one little thing to represent each element. So I had like a little fake flower in there, I had a pine cone, I had some feathers and some seashells, and that was it. As my practice had grown, I had gotten myself a nice pretty altar. I miss my altar so much. But my altar was I'm gonna call it like a treasure chest. So it was a wooden chest, and what I did is I flipped it sideways, so that way the side of the chest was my top, and then I could put all my books and supplies and things underneath. And so obviously my practice had grown. I had started to decorate it, per season, per my deities, towards my practice, and things like that. Well, life happens. Sometimes you kind of have to move and shift around, and so now we are back to the old faithful box here. And honestly, it's a very humble feeling, having to feel like, you're finally getting comfortable with yourself and stepping out of the broom closet, and then kind of having to go back into it a little bit. But I thought it'd be fun to go through what I keep in my handy dandy box here. So it's a little bit of a mess right now because, like I said, we did go for a little car ride. We were at the park. I attempted to do some fun photos, which may or may not be posted. TBD on that, we'll see. But starting out, I do keep my bouquet that I made. So the bottom here is pretty ugly. But this is the bouquet that I made for when I got married 3 years ago. And I just keep it in there as sentimental. And again, these are some of the flowers that were meant to be for like my centerpieces. So I don't know if you can see the black with my black sweater, but I have this little black flower and this yellow flower, which again was supposed to be decorations for my wedding, but COVID. So I have made other arrangements with all my different flowers over the past couple years. Like I said, I have my handy dandy pine cones, because I am more of a elemental type practice. I have my big seashell, and I have a littler one as well to represent my water. And I also, so everything is, some things are kind of in like little portable bags and stuff. But I wanted to pull out, and I keep the Tree of Life in my box here. It used to be in the center with the triple moon goddess symbol in front of it while sitting on the table. This particular piece has a lot of sentimental value to me, and you know, not only is it special to my heart, but it is one of the essential things that you'll find when you start looking into different spiritual practices. I have a couple more little seashells in this particular bag, a little, if I can get it out, and a little turtle that my husband, when we were dating at the time, and this was pre getting into any of this, but he had kind of carved this and painted it for me, and so I keep this again as being representative of water here. And I have a bunch of little bags like this, even like I have a bag of bags that has extra little bags in it. And then I have this as well. This is a little compact mirror. Sorry if I blind the camera, but a little compact mirror. And I keep this on the altar and things like that, as well as kind of like a offering. Moving on a little bit deeper, I have, of course, my scorpion here, which again is made out of metal, and reason being is because my birth chart is dominated by a Scorpio, and so that is kind of what I identify with zodiac astrology wise. Again, with another little bag. So this bag here just has a couple of different wooden carvings in it. So this is my triple moon symbol I was talking about that I place in front of the Tree of Life when sitting on my altar. I have in here like a whale tail. There's a fox. There's a couple little other foxes, some trees. And I put these up seasonally for pending which holiday is happening or which deity I happen to be working with. And again, I have some candles, and I use a lot of little tea light candles as well in my practice. Another little bag. And this bag here, I'm not going to open because I don't want anything to fall out, but it has little pull ties. I keep my rose petals that I use for rituals and spell work. Of course, my tarot deck stays in my box almost at all times. This book here is a leather book, but this is what I call my tarot journal. So the only thing that goes in here is my personal tarot and shadow work entries. I keep this fun little book in here. It is completely empty, but I have not figured out what I want to use for it yet. But I bought it because I like the little saying that I had right here. It says, "Life is like a compass. When you set your goals correctly, it will take you to the right direction." And then it has a little compass. I fell in love with it at the little local like hippie witchy shop that we have in the mall, because it's not really an occult store. It has kind of like a hippie vibe, a witchy vibe, but it also has like regular mundane things as well. When you step into the store, a lot of people don't really know what these aspects are because it's kind of like that witchy aesthetic. That's a better word for it. It's like a witchy aesthetic type store. But that's where I got this on sale, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I want to try to get better at journaling because journaling is very hard. The only one that I really keep up with is the tarot journal. Moving on, speaking of tarot, I keep the one book that I have on tarot, hardback, that I use to kind of help work my way through my tarot deck. I do have other books. This is just for space-wise where I live at right now. This is just where it lives. I also, and of course it's Nightmare Before Christmas themed, I do have this notebook as well, which I originally got to kind of help myself journal. I had originally started it, if I can get to the page, I had attempted to start regular journaling, and then I attempted to use this as my tarot journal, and I just didn't feel like it was working as well as it should have. So there is a lot more blank pages in here than there should, but eventually the goal is that I will come back to this. And of course I have, one of my dried out roses. I was able to save this one, and this is ones that the actual rose petals for my rituals I have in here. And then I keep my handy dandy bag of feathers. I do keep them in the Ziploc bag for protection, so that way they don't get ruined, meaning since everything is currently inside the box. Now when I do have my altar ready and available and out, I'll put some various different feathers on there. So like for instance, taking this one out, I have ones like these, which if I'm not mistaken are from one of the local sparrow birds in our area. I used to work at a exotic vet clinic, and so I would get a lot of feathers just from working there. Birds would come in, we would do like bird clippings, or if we were doing rehabilitation, sometimes they would lose their feathers. So like for instance, this one is a macaw feather, and again you'll kind of see where it's clipped at the bottom, and that's just because routine clippings of their wings, so that way they don't fly too far away and things like that and get lost. These ones here with the dots on it, I don't know where I got these ones at. I was walking my dog one day in the apartment complex that we lived in, and there was a bunch of these in various sizes, just kind of periodically throughout the ground, just perfectly there. And this was I found these ones shortly after I had started practicing, whereas the ones I got from previously, I wasn't practicing quite yet. But these ones I was practicing when I found these, and I have these in various sizes. Some are bigger, some are smaller, so I would assume they were coming off of like a juvenile bird that was exploring and coming into adulthood, and or there was some type of altercation. Anywho, I felt very drawn to them and then asked permission, and then I had found more of them like the next day as well. So I have quite a little collection of those, which I think is pretty cool. And then again with the little bags, I don't really use these that often, so I don't know enough about them. But these are just, a friend of mine gave me some cool little rocks and stones and stuff. And so I just keep them in this little bag for safety, and keep them in there. It's just kind of a reminder that, hey, one day maybe you will get to working with, stones and things like that. But right now, that is not where I'm on my path, and that is okay. But, see, like this one's a little baby one. But I really like them, and I think they make a good addition to my box. And then I do keep some flashcards either in my box or close by. I kind of have, since my tarot, when I first got my tarot deck, since it is not a traditional deck, I wrote a little cheat sheet of which each card was, so that way it was easier for me to remember what was what. And I just make some little cards periodically with like notes and things on there that I think are important to know. And so yeah, so that is what lives inside of my altar box in a nutshell. And again, it is messy and all over the place, and it is going to take a minute to put everything back in there pretty. Some things I didn't show you that are in there. I mean, obviously there's more tea candles. I have some spell work that I've written myself that I've used in ritual. Those are kind of personal, so I'm not going to show those with you, but I do keep stuff like that in here. Some things that I used to keep on my altar, like I said, I had the top, and then I had my cubby. So all my books that I had collected over the 2 years had been underneath there. I had some like loose leaf paper for, you know, times where I wanted to write something down, or if I was practicing writing a spell or ritual. That way I didn't have to worry about writing in something, you know, so fancy that you can't necessarily erase in. I kind of had that paper that I could cross out, scratch, change things around, and when I had the final copy, I could write what I did for said ritual and things like that. So I would keep like colored pencils, markers, regular pencils, pens kind of underneath there. I had a moon calendar that I kept underneath there that I used to track the moons cycles with, so I knew when to schedule rituals. I would keep figurines, so like for instance my Scorpio here, I have like some bunnies and different things like that again kind of were representative of different times of the year. I would kind of keep those in storage underneath there. On the top of my altar I would have all these things that you see me kind of going and shifting through that are in like these type bags, but I would have them out and kind of laid out flat. And then what I would do as well is I used to take my jewelry and I would lay it on my altar at nighttime, just so that way it would re-energize. So I had like a little specific dish that I put it on, so that way it wasn't necessarily touching the surface, but that was the place it was meant to be. And so that way my jewelry would get charged and energized overnight, and so when I put it on the next morning I knew that there was power in it, and it was kind of a comfort to help get you through the day. Let's see, I think that's it. Like, I'm trying to like go through my brain, but I think that's pretty much it. Now, I don't have any fancy tools like an athame or a wand or anything like that. I am in the search of a small cauldron, just so that way I am able to take it with me out into the backyard for like rituals and stuff, just to kind of have a small controlled fire or burn. Like when I use my tea candles, I have something to stick it in. But you know, I didn't have any of these fancy altar tools that when you watch, you know, Witchcraft for Beginners or what to have on an altar and those types of things, then people are like, you have to have those. I don't have any of those. So just keep that in mind when you're building your own altar, your own practice. It is what you make it.